everybody, my name is Benjamin Bloom and here we are for the latest Championship predictions video. Do one of these every single week with varying success. Going to go through all the Championship games, try and predict the outcome of each, and we'll see how we do in the review show later on in the weekend, so do subscribe to see all of that. This week's games take us up to number 17 for all teams, so that's over a third of the way there. International break just after this week, so weekend off following, and then we go into this 9-game run after that. 9 games between November the 23rd and January the 1st, and date for your diaries, so just the game before Christmas, and we're exactly at the halfway point. There is still no team on 2 points per game. I know I talk about this a lot. This is my reference point for how good people are. And I know you could argue, look, it's a league, whoever finishes first, but it's always a good barometer. 5 points between the top and 8th place. So the way I'm seeing it is 10 games between now and 1st of January. Score 20 points there and you're looking very, very comfy for an automatic spot if you're anywhere in that top 8 by the looks of it. Norwich, QPR and Birmingham lead the way still in the form table, but whoever goes top seems to fall off pretty much straight away. So top of the table in that spot by the end of last weekend, they played in the late game, was Leeds United. So their fixture this week, West Brom versus Leeds at the Hawthorns. West Brom in 7th, as I mentioned. Leeds in 1st. Leeds still, I think, riding their great start. But if you look, they never go too long without winning. Even though, is it 3 wins in 10 possibly? It's never too big a gap without a win in there. And that's obviously kept them up there. You can't be top of the league and be too terrible, but they did fall away after that brilliant start, it has to be said. Hernandez and Roof are back and have made a big difference since they've come back, but I would just challenge Leeds fans. I would say that this season they haven't beaten a team functioning well, in that they've beaten the likes of Hull and Preston and Ipswich and Wigan. The best teams they've beaten are Derby and Norwich, but they got both of them before their good form started. So I still want to see Leeds in a big game against a big team. They've had Forest at home and not won. They've had Brentford at home and not won. I still want to see Leeds beat a big team. This could be a chance, but you would say West Brom are now not in form. So you can only beat what's put in front of you. But as you can see, Leeds are top. I'm still not 100%. I think there's another gear for them that they haven't found yet. And if they do, and nobody else goes with them, then they will obviously win the league. West Brom are on a horrible run. They've been top, been made favourites and fallen away like all the others. 1 win in the last 6, 3 defeats in the last 4 is not good. We kept saying, oh, well, they'll just outscore everybody. No, 2 goals in the last 4. The goals have dried up and we're starting to see what Darren Moore is made of. He's an inexperienced manager, and here comes the test. Can he come out of it and get them playing how they were before this nasty run? I can't sit here and say Leeds aren't all that and then predict them to win. They need to prove me wrong, so I'll believe it if they do, but I'm going to go for a draw in this one. Both teams to pick up a point as we go into the international break. In 2nd place, Norwich. They were top for a while last weekend. Take on Millwall. Norwich are in brilliant form since they played my team, Ipswich. Well, that was the first game of their kind of really good run. And if you forward to the next game, it's 10 wins in 14 in all competitions. Okay, a couple of League Cup games, but 10 wins in 14. Fantastic stuff. And they hammered Sheffield Wednesday last week. They're the masters of the 3-game week, and I would have said they're the masters of the tight victory, but they won 4-0 last week, so they're the masters of the hammering as well. Back to that 3-game week. Twice this season they've done 9 points during a 3-game week. That's 18 points they've picked up out of their total of 30 in just 2 real short periods. Great stuff there. Millwall, when you look at them last year, they really were right at the top of their potential to finish 8th, I think. And if you then assume that Morrison doesn't play every week now, Saville's gone, you can knock a few places off. But we probably wouldn't have them as low as 19th where they are now. So we're looking for a bit more of a climb up from them. In recent weeks, they have picked up wins, Millwall, but 2 of them were against Villa and Ipswich, who were with caretaker managers at the time, and they were both home games as well. So if you're being really pedantic and playing devil's advocate against Millwall, you could say they played those teams at the right time. I can't say all of that and predict anything other than another Norwich win. Let's go for a home win there for Norwich. So possibly going into the international break, 17 games, top of the league. We shall see. Sheffield Derby, really looking forward to this. Sheffield United in 3rd, Sheffield Wednesday in 17th, and I will be at this game once again, thanks to YouTuber Nick for sorting me out a ticket there. I didn't have the loyalty points, let's just say. And it's going to be the first Derby game I've seen that's not between Ipswich and Norwich. So it'll be interesting to see how the atmospheres compare and how the bile compares and the rivalry. The Blades are inconsistent at the moment. Recent run of dropped points always seems to be against the wealthier teams. Drew against Stoke, lost against Derby and Forest. Home form's excellent though. 5 wins and 2 draws in the last 7. And I want to see good old Chris Wilder. I want to see Fleck and Norwood. I want to see 3 forwards. I want to see Clark, Sharp and McGoldrick. I want to see the wing backs forward. I want to see the spare centre-half forward. I want to see them really go for it because Sheffield Wednesday are a bit of a wounded animal. And I think that will be exactly what Wilder's instructions are. Wednesday, 2 wins in 10. They're in the playoffs. Dropped them down to 17th. And let's make excuses again. The wins earlier in the season, were they down to catching Villa and Ipswich like Millwall towards the end of manager reigns? And also they got Millwall in their bad start. It certainly looked like flash in the pans. Now they've dropped down to, where are they? 17th? Yeah, 17th. Going to be at this game, so look out for the match review. All the stats say this is going to be a home win. So got to go for a home win. Sheffield United to beat Sheffield Wednesday on Friday night. Boro in 4th versus Wigan in 16th. It's funny that we see Boro as out of form and kind of hanging in there at the top. They've only lost 2 out of 20 games in all competitions. I just think when we saw them midway through September, they were barely conceding any goals, and you thought, okay, they're going to go up a gear and they can run away with this. But they seem to have just regressed a bit back from there. Goals have dried up, only 1 goal in the last 3, despite the lack of losing, let's just say. And the criticism seems to be the balance between defence and attack. It's all very well, you know, having this amazing watertight defence, but if the tactic is overly defensive, then you will stop scoring and teams will be able to go away and play you and sit there and take a point off you. And we know in the Championship, 46 games, you need those 3 pointers. What we'll say is my narrative about no one claiming this division and shooting off into the distance means that Pulis can just sit there and ride this out, and definitely going to finish in the top 4 the way they're going. You just worry for Boro whether a couple of teams go away and, you know, go off and put the points on the board, and Boro could get left behind if they're too pragmatic. Wigan finally lost their brilliant undefeated home record. That could spell a bit of disaster for them, as they're the 4th worst team in the league away from home. 6 straight away defeats going into this one, and 20 goals conceded on the road. So Boro at home to Wigan. All that being said, you've got to go for a clean sheet for Boro and a home win. So I'm predicting home win, Boro to beat Wigan. Down we go. Derby versus Villa. Let's call this the John Gregory Derby. Derby are in nice form, and the team seems to have a personality now under Lampard, rather than just a collection of players. The fast, lightning attacking from the likes of Tom Lawrence, the goals of Marriott. 12 points in the last 6 is the gold standard, 2 points per game. But more impressively, those 6 games were against Norwich, banging form, QPR, banging form, Sheffield United, top of the league, West Brom, the threat, I know they've dropped off a bit, Boro, hard to play against, and Birmingham, banging form. So they've had hard games, and obviously that Chelsea League Cup game as well. So really impressed with Derby, I have to say. Villa I saw last week. Dean Smith has won both his home games, lost both his away games. They looked, I'm trying to think of words to describe it. I've typed on my laptop fairly decent, as in, well, they won. Didn't look amazing. They didn't look bad. Just right down the middle, I'd say. And I think, if you're a Villa fan, you've got to wait till January because it looked like even a few of the first 11, let alone the squad, weren't quite up to speed on what Smith wants to do, particularly in the fullback positions there in terms of the passing. So whether they need to be coached into it or replaced, maybe, you won't see either of those things happen until January. Especially players like Hutton and Taylor aren't going to learn a new way of playing in their 30s. So with all that being said, I've got to go for Derby, really. Villa, not the finished product. Derby in good form and at home, and Smith's not won an away game yet. Let's go for Derby, a home win against Aston Villa. 6th place, Forest versus Stoke in 15th. Forest back into the top 6 after a good win over fellow top 6 team Sheffield United last week. Well, would have been league leaders, wouldn't they? We knew Grabban was in form. He scored again. 9th of the season, and Lolly is the Championship Player of the Month. We seem to have mentioned him the past few games. All bodes well for Forest. Stoke, I saw them a couple of games back at Sheffield United. They look very Gary Rowett, let's just say, very solid if unspectacular. They're getting harder to beat, 1 in 7, but they're still positioned down in 15th. So if they're going to rise, it's going to be a slow rise and possibly playoffs at best. God, difficult one to call this. I think Karanka versus Rowett. We had Pulis versus Rowett last week. I went for a draw. Karanka versus Rowett. Let's go for the same thing. Let's go for a draw in that one. Forest and Stoke to draw. Blackburn in 8th versus Rotherham in 18th. Blackburn is still nicely positioned. And given how the points are all shared out and no one's scooting away across the top 8, strong one would put them in the playoffs, although I think most people would say, you know, in that Millwall spot, Millwall finished in 8th last year, Blackburn probably at the peak of their powers, I'd say, ready to be proved wrong on that, but I think they'll be very happy with where they are currently. Rotherham got that great smash and grab win against Swansea last week, where Swansea did everything but put them away, and then a couple of penalties at the end. That was at home. Although Rotherham's away form is less terrible than it was. They're actually unbeaten in the last 2. They drew, great draw at Boro and then at Preston. I don't think they're going to get anything at Blackburn. I think Mowbray is going to know all about them from League One last year, and I think they're not going to be underestimated. They're not going to play the underdog game. I think Blackburn are going to get the win. Home win, Blackburn versus Rotherham. Down to the aforementioned Swansea in 9th position. Bolton in 20th versus Swansea. Like we say, Swansea did everything but win at Rotherham last week. Not a good pattern for Swansea is that they've lost against my team Ipswich and against Rotherham. So that might bode well for Bolton, losing to teams lower down in the table. The big news for Swansea is that Bonney is back, according to my last Google search. I assume he'll be on the bench. He won't start after 9 months out on this one, and I'm guessing they're going to work towards Bonney, James, McBurney, and whatever configuration they can get, maybe in a 4-3-3, maybe a 4-2-3-1 with McBurney in behind Bonney. That could be a game changer for them. Like I say, I was at Villa Bolton last week. Check out the review for that one. They weren't terrible, Bolton, but they were fairly easily undone. And that's always worrying when you think, well, they executed the plan fairly well, you know, fairly solid, pace down the sides, big guy up front, make it hard, and they still lost. They were undone by one bit of quality in a set play, which doesn't look good, but they should have taken one of their 3 or 4 chances. Ooh, let's go for a Swansea away win in this one. Maybe Bonnie off the bench to get the winner, but be under no illusions. Bolton aren't easy to play against, so could swing either way, that one, and Swansea have lost to the lower teams. Moving on, Birmingham in 10th against Hull in 23rd. Birmingham's brilliant run ended at Derby last week, but I'm sure they will change absolutely nothing. Their team functions well. They get free kicks into the box for the big guys at the back. They get their wingers playing, and this excellent front two. Jukovic still scored last week, so they'll change absolutely nothing. Hull have 2 straight wins out of nowhere. They haven't really bumped up their league position, but they've certainly put themselves in with the rest of them with those 2 wins. Both 1-0, so clean sheets there. Fraser Campbell with goals in both. The wins against Bolton and West Brom give them a bit of hope there, although I don't give them too much hope in this one. I think Birmingham go back to winning ways in this one. Let's go for home win, Birmingham to beat Hull. London derby here, QPR versus Brentford. QPR, like Birmingham, lost their good streak last weekend, and like Birmingham, probably won't change anything. Tight at the back, Cameron sitting in there, Freeman, Eze, Voshilekov, big Hemed up the front. They have got that facility if they want to do something with Wells, who's probably got a bit more running power than Hemed's size. But remember, you're playing Brentford, and we know that the way to keep Brentford out is to not try and outpass them, because you won't do it, but to try and frustrate them. Brentford got their first win under Thomas Frank last week over Millwall. They've dropped down to 13th. Going to want to get into that 8th to 12th spot. I think Brentford aced this one last year, if I remember correctly. Oh, it's a hard one to call. If it was at Brentford, I'd say Brentford will win. Let's go for a draw. Let's sit on the fence in Shepherd's Bush. QPR to draw at home to Brentford. Couple more left. Bristol City in 12th versus Preston in 21st. Bristol City, the Johnson streaks are getting shorter now. They're off the back of 1-2, lost 2. But look at the stats of that Bristol City-Reading game. Reading, Yap stamped them a little bit there. I think it's 21 shots to 8, and Reading with the 3-2 win. So Bristol City a bit powder puff at the back, and you know, should have probably won that game looking at the stats. Sometimes the stats lie, so don't tell me off, Reading fans, in the comments. Preston drew at Ipswich in Lambert's first game last week. They're now unbeaten in 6, 2 wins and 4 draws. So the defeats have turned into draws there, and definitely they're on an uptrend. Preston, I think I'm going to have to sit on the fence with this one as well and call another draw there. I think Preston know that if they just keep churning those points out and get a few home wins, they're going to move away from the bottom and into the middle of the table there. So I think they can play a fairly patient game, knowing that there's worse teams than them in the division. Bristol City to draw at home to Preston. And finally, yes, my team are the lowest ranked game once again. That comes from being bottom of the league for a while now. Reading in 22nd versus Ipswich in 24th. Reading have 2 wins in 6, but I'm clinging on to the fact that in both of those games, they were heavily outshot by Millwall and Bristol City. And although they did snatch 3 goals in both of those, but no Bodvarsson and possibly no Maite about. They'll be really eager to get him on the pitch there. Ipswich, Paul Lambert's second game, drew the first one against Preston. He's making all the right noises. Ipswich really, really, really need a win from this one. Oh God, can I predict an Ipswich win? I'd be stupid to predict an Ipswich win. Let's go for a very unhelpful to everybody draw, secretly hoping that Ipswich win in the back of my mind. So look, that is the latest round of Championship predictions. As I say, I get to as many Championship games as I can. Most of them Ipswich, although I am doing 2 this weekend. So I rely on subscribers and commenters to smarten me up. Let me know in the comments what you think. If your star guy's injured and I've missed it, please let me know. If you think I've got the trend the wrong way, let me know. Please do comment. It's really, really important to giving me a little bit more knowledge, because sometimes the media, they really don't have as good an insight as the regular fans do. Just keep it civil in the comments. We know what YouTube can be like. We're all grown-ups here. If you want to get involved and do your own predictions as well, please do so. What I would love you to do is either give a thumbs up, one of those comments that I've just mentioned. Even better, why not subscribe to the channel? Loads of you have. Thank you very much. We've coming up 3,500-ish subscribers now, which is fantastic to feel that you're engaging with that many people. That's brilliant. So subscribe would be great, because we'll try and do predictions before every game week and review afterwards, and just eager to put out content and learn from subscribers. That's the model here. If you're Twitter literate, at Benjamin Bloom on Twitter, please do give us a follow and give us a tweet on there if you want to. Also, so look out this weekend. 2 match reviews. Still City Derby tomorrow night I'll be at, and then I'll be at Reading versus Ipswich, and then I'll be here with the review on Sunday, and the Blue Monday podcast also on Sunday night for a more Ipswich-centric view of things. I've gone really long here. That clock up there says 21 minutes, so I'm going to shut the hell up and look forward to reading your comments and replying to as many as I can. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully enjoy the weekend's football and enjoy the weekend's content. Over and out.